It's your own time you're wasting. Ramblings from Beyond the Classroom with Marie and Jodie.
Hello and welcome back to It's Your Own Time You're Wasting. My name's Jodie, I'm a maths teacher and this is my co-host.
I'm Marie, I'm an English teacher, and I'm very excited today, Jodie, because we have a very special guest. This is one of our special episodes on the secret lives of teachers. And a little bit nervous, I have to say, because, I know we're consummate professionals, but still.
I'm not going to lie, I had 2 emergency wheeze because I was a bit nervous.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've not even made a cup of coffee because I thought I won't be able to drink it. So we're diving into the life of a teacher who is also a fossil hunter, which is a nice little secret sideline, I think.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant that teachers kind of can have this sideline because, I mean, we've talked about holidays. You do get that nice long summer holiday.
You do.
And you kind of explore those hobbies.
Yeah. So James, our special guest, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Hi, my name is James and I am a maths teacher from the Isle of Wight, but I like to spend my spare time walking around beaches hunting for fossils.
Fantastic. And how did you get into... Well, let's talk about teaching first. How did you get into teaching? How long have you been a teacher?
So I started my training 2 and a bit years ago. So I started training on the job in the school during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ooh,
Nice.
baptism of fire.
Yeah, this is actually my 3rd year teaching, but only my 2nd year teaching in a classroom.
That's brilliant. So you must have started with a lot of online classes. And
I was, my friends joke that I had the easiest way into teaching because I started as a support assistant in a classroom and then started teaching some lessons of other teachers in their classes.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. And where everybody was going online, all the lessons were set by the teachers and doing the work at home. None of those classes were officially mine yet, so all of the teachers who originally taught those classes did a lot more of the work than I did. It wasn't until the summer of 2020 where I got my own classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you missed out a bit, though, on that crucial experience, or do you think you've caught up?
I think I've caught up now, especially in the last year. I did a placement at another school for a few months, just before the summer holidays. I went and taught another school on the island and got a different classroom experience and stuff like that. And now I have my own classroom and my own classes, so I feel a bit more integrated into the school than I did when I first started teaching.
So you mentioned there kind of on the island, James is from the Isle of Wight and teaches there. How's that different, do you think, than kind of teaching on the mainland, I guess?
Yeah, it's different because where the schools are a little bit smaller, you have less students in it and everyone sort of knows everyone. Your name becomes a bit infamous in a way. When I was growing up, everybody knew who my mum was as a medical professional on the island, and now people know who Mr. Burke is, and you always know family members and stuff of people. Which is quite funny in a way, but then you don't have the anonymity when you go out in public. So I can just be popping to the shop for some milk, like Saturday morning in just tracksuit and everything, and then out comes 10 of my students just round the corner.
Yeah. Do they speak to you, James? Do they go, "Hi, sir"?
Some of them do. Some of them do try and run away from me. But yeah, I think you get that no matter who you are.
I think you do, yeah.
So how many students are in your school out of interest-ish?
There is a 625. There is 125 per year group.
That is
that's
much
small.
smaller there.
Yeah.
I
it's
taught in a
much
school
smaller.
that had 300.
Well, we have
Per year group?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, James, go on.
We have a smaller year group size per most of the schools on the island because I teach in a free school where we're sort of in between public and private school. So they limit the numbers and spaces and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. So what is it like teaching in a free school?
I think it's great where they make a lot of their own decisions.
Yeah.
There's more to do for each member of staff where we do everything ourselves. So there's no hiring out of not cover staff and all that sort of stuff. If you work here, you're expected to plug in holes wherever, like just do whatever job's needed of you.
Okay.
But it creates a nice little family unit. We got quite a nice community of teachers. We're all friends. We all spend a lot of time together.
Oh yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, I think school should be a community. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
I think if you can get that in your staff, it's so much better.
Yeah, it makes life easier, doesn't it? So what do you love about teaching, James?
I like learning. I've always been one that wants to know why everything works or what happens here. So I think I just wanted to get other people into that. You know, I like talking about things, discussing things, and that eureka moment from somebody else. It's great when you experience it. It's not every day. Some days you get, I just don't get it, all from everyone. So
yeah, and I think particularly with maths, we've talked about this a lot. But pupils and students, I think, are intimidated by maths quite a lot. I know I was, and I know my daughter is.
Yeah, the word algebra just sends them into cold sweats. And...
Well, I did this. So I am working on a new project at the minute and had to kind of sell it to my boss. And I did algebra because I knew it would look the fanciest. So I started with algebra because it would make people go, oh, wow.
Oh, this is, And they won't question you, Jodie, because they don't know what you're talking about.
It's been very successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in that,
Great.
If you can hide algebra into another question, you can just
I
say, oh, do you know how to do this? And they go, yeah, I can figure that out, like a little problem-solving task about money. And they go, oh, you've just done some basic algebra there because I've given you an unknown value.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to sneak the learning in, don't you?
Yeah, you have to trick them into doing maths.
Exactly. Do you get any of that, why we're doing this, sir? We're never going to do this.
Oh, all the time. The most heard comment in my classroom is, I'm never going to need this in the real world, or I'm never going to need this after school.
We get the same in English with Shakespeare. Why are we doing this, miss? Why are we reading this?
I use a little bit of a story with my students because I teach, in my year 11 class at the moment, I teach the bottom set in our school. So a lot of them are really refusing to do maths. They don't want to do it that much. And they go, oh, I'm never going to need this next year because I'm going to do hairdressing or I'm going to do building. Why am I going to need this? And I explain to them that a lot of the time with their maths GCSE, it's something they just need to tick off the list as such. Like they need it to get onto their college course.
Onto anything now, don't you?
So I say to them, I tell them the first line of Romeo and Juliet. And then I go, I've never needed that in my life, but I learnt it for my English GCSE, so I could pass. I learnt about Shakespeare, and now I've never used it ever again.
Yeah, but you've shown that you have the skill.
But I've learnt it, so
exactly.
I had my hair cut a couple of weeks ago and had a very long chat with my hairdresser who works at the college teaching other hairdressers about the maths in hairdressing, and it completely blew my mind because I'd just not thought about it. But like the angle that you pull the hair out to get it the right length, and I was like, that's just trigonometry. It's surprising where we're going on to a bit of a maths tangent here, pun intended, but it's great. I love it.
I know, I always say it makes me start to itch, James, to be too near maths because I'm an English teacher.
I feel the same way about English with my my great dyslexia. I refuse to write anything down if I can avoid it. But numbers make sense. I can do numbers.
I feel like I found a kindred spirit here. I've got a dyslexic maths teacher with me. I feel like I've found my other half.
Absolutely. I'm the other way around. I'm all right with letters, but numbers, no, I'll get them all over the show.
It's your own time you're wasting. So why not stick the kettle on, put your feet up and have a cuppa? Ah, bliss.
So, James, your sideline is running fossil hunts on the Isle of Wight. So how did you get into fossil hunting?
Well, my actual university degree was in geology. So when I was at school, I got interested in geology. My high school, when we had high schools on the island, they did a geology GCSE, and I was like, oh, I'll pick that 'cause it's another science.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of found it interesting because it's something I'd never done before, and the idea of just learning something new, it interested me. And I got to go outside a lot because geology is all about going and actually visiting the sites.
Yeah.
So I did a degree in geology, and every summer holiday from university, I'd come back to the island because it's like having a holiday home. I had a room at my mum's house so I could stay in. And I decided to do some work whilst I was here, and I approached a company on the island that did the fossil hunts and just said, have you got any work going? I'm doing a geology degree. I know my stuff. I've lived on the island most of my life. Can I be of any help? And it started off doing 1 or 2 trips as like the second person. So there was another guide leading it, and because they had over a certain amount of people on it, they needed a second member of staff.
Right.
And then they knew I was free during all of the holidays and stuff. And at the end of the year, at the end of the school year, when the university students are off, all of like the primary schools go on residential trips.
Yes,
of course,
yes.
So I used to run some of the trips, and I'd take the school groups down to the beach and teach them that. And it's something I just did every summer holidays, and every time I was back on the island, I made friends with the person who ran the business. And even then, when I finished university and I had another job and I was doing other things, I'd still get a text from Jenny every now and again saying, "Oh, could you help out? Are you free this day? Are you free that day? Could you do another trip?"
Do you think those school trips is what inspired you to be a teacher, or
a little bit? I did really enjoy doing them, but the difference is I didn't have to do any of the behaviour management when I was doing it. When
I was just going to say that you're getting to do the nice stuff.
Yeah.
The cream of teaching.
Yeah, just being the excited person talking about rocks for an hour, running down a beach. It was great fun. It's a little difficult when it goes into a classroom.
What's the best thing you've found on one of your tours then?
I found 3 iguanodon vertebrae right next to
No way.
That was me personally.
Oh, wow.
We had some of the people on our trips. We found fossilized turtle shell that hasn't been discovered for a really long time. We found some really old shark's teeth and alligator teeth.
Wow.
There was a jawbone found on one of them, so it's really interesting stuff. I get quite jealous sometimes.
I'm jealous just hearing about it.
There's a type of fossil called a micrasta echinoid, so it's like a little sea urchin thing that wraps itself around a rock, and they form on little heart-shaped rocks, and they look like starfishes wrapped around these heart-shaped rocks. I'd been doing fossil hunting on the island for 5 years and never found one. And this like 6-year-old comes running up to me and goes, "Is this anything?" And I couldn't believe it. How did they find one in their like half an hour on the beach amongst my 6 years of doing it?
Oh,
charming, that, isn't it? It's just charming. I love fossils too. And this summer we went to Saltwick Bay, which is just past Whitby. And the most exciting thing I found was an ammonite. But it's still in the rock, and I can tell it's an ammonite because I've got the edges of it going round. But I daren't break the rock open because I don't know how to do it without destroying whatever's on the inside.
Yeah, they're really difficult to extract if you don't have the right tools. So when I was doing it at university, I'd take stuff back with me to the labs and try and extract stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have ammonites on the Isle of Wight because I do love ammonites, but they're not the right age group.
So which time because it's the Jurassic coast, isn't it, up at in the
heading
northeast.
further west, so we have a lot of Cretaceous and Jurassic rock, so it's all your dinosaur stuff, so it's all
that's cool.
People really like to
that is really cool. And your iguanodon spine bits that you found, I'm sure you had a better word than that, but
vertebrae was the word I used.
Vertebrate, that's the one. That's the one. Were they in position? Were they all like from the same creature, or did you find them separately?
I found them separately, but they were almost like they were right at the base of a cliff, and they were about 2 foot apart, like in a little radius. So you can assume they're from the same burial because they're all the right size, and they would
Is
fit.
there a way to test that?
Sort of, without fully breaking my samples. No.
Okay,
I've just sort of kept them. I've identified them. I know what they are, and they sit pride of place on my desk at home. So
Nice.
So what advice, would you give someone like me who has never found a very good fossil? What advice would you give me to find something better and cooler?
Top tip is always just to be looking down at your feet. It sounds really funny, but if you're just always looking just at the ground, something will, your eyes will be attracted to something, especially on the island where all of our dinosaur bone is black in colour because of the carbon-rich material above it. So if you're just wandering along the beach and you see something jet black in colour, I always go and pick it up because it could be something.
Yeah, that's it. And once you get your eye in as well, you start seeing them everywhere. That's what I found. Once I'd found one, I sort of was tuned into it then, and I was seeing them absolutely everywhere. Sometimes wedged between two big rocks. The tide was coming in and I couldn't get it out.
I'd like to take a minute just to appreciate James's top. I realise obviously you can't see it, but it says, "That's what I do. I collect rocks," which is a great top.
On the bottom it says, "And I know things." So this is always my fossil hunting T-shirt when I take groups down there. So they know who to look for.
Good plan. Yeah, picking up rocks though is just like, I think it's a natural human instinct, to look at your feet and pick stuff up when it catches your eye.
Yeah, I read a book which takes a lot of effort for me. It's called I think it's called The Art of Pebble Collecting or The Science of Pebble Collecting, and it was a rewrite of a really old book that somebody wrote back in the 1800s, and it's about this guy's diary of him just going to the beach and looking at pebbles and finding all the interesting marks and colours, and he didn't really know what they were, but then somebody has read these diary entries and then identified what he was actually picking up.
Oh wow,
that's so cool.
My favourite book when I was a kid was by Shirley Hughes, and it was an Alfie and Annie Rose book, and they went to the beach and Alfie found his favourite rock and made it a scarf and everything, and it was slightly traumatising because he does lose the rock. So most of my childhood, it was called bunting or bonting, I can't remember which, but most of my childhood was trying to find bunting on the beach.
Oh, bless.
I never found it.
I find it very soothing actually to be walking along the beach just looking at the floor and looking for things. Pottery is my latest thing to pick up. I found quite a bit of pottery, and I found my first pipe stem in Whitby as well from a clay pipe. Yeah, which I was quite excited about. No one else was, but I was. Oh, now here's a question. Do you think you'd ever give up teaching and become a professional fossil hunter / geologist?
If I could do just the tours every day, then 100%. But the shame about it is it's not a job that pays like that well.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't do it as a full-time job. So it's really nice to have it as, something extra to do during the summer holidays. But as much as I come home and claim that I dislike all the children I teach, I don't. I do really care for a lot of them, and I really enjoy seeing their happy little faces most days when they come in and tell me their brand new bit of information or what they did over the weekend. So I think teaching's the job for me now.
Yes.
How do you react? How do your students react to your kind of side hustle? I'm guessing they know about it because.
So my mentor class think I'm insane. So I have like 13 students that I'm in charge of, and they come see me every morning and take their register and everything. They come in and they know that I have very few interests, but the ones I do have are really weird. So they're like, "Oh, what did you do this weekend?" And they're fully expecting me to say, "Oh, I dug into a cliff to find some prehistoric creature." And they just know that I like rocks. And as a bit of a joke, one year at Christmas time, they went out on their break time and some of them picked up a load of pebbles that we have near the back of the school and just brought them in and put them on my desk and went, "There you go, Christmas present."
Were any of them interesting pebbles, or were they just like pebbles?
It's all just pebbles that we have scattered around the site. So it was quite funny, but...
I would have been quite pleased with pebbles. I like, piling them up, see if you can get a big tour. I was going to ask you something. Oh, are any of them super proud of you, though, for being, like, a fossil hunter on the side?
I don't know. They wouldn't outwardly show that. My lot are now currently just entering year 9, year 10. They are all
Oh, so they're going to be grumpy.
they're grumpy teenagers now, so they act like they dislike me all the time. I know they don't really.
No, of course they don't. No, but it wouldn't be cool to say you're into fossils, would it?
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be cool to say, actually, what Mr. Berg told me about rocks this morning was really interesting. No 14-year-olds ever said that.
No.
No, true.
Tell me about the journey from doing a geology degree to then teaching maths.
Oh, so
how did that happen?
I did my degree, and right at the end of it, I actually, unfortunately, I was in quite a serious accident. I had to go to hospital, so I didn't get to do my final year exam. They gave me a comprehensive pass, and I had to move back from London back to the island.
Okay.
Whilst I was
to
recovering.
recuperate.
Yeah. And then I sort of, got a bit healthier and got a bit bored, so I just got a job in the local bar down the road.
Yeah.
I was doing that for a few years, 3 years or so, just working there, and eventually I realised that it wasn't challenging me intellectually enough.
Yeah.
I got a little bit bored, and I was like, I didn't go to university to pull pints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I applied to work at the school I'm now teaching at, just as a support assistant, as an LSA in the school. And I was there for a while, and I did a lot of support in maths lessons. And they realised that I was, because that was what I was better at. Wouldn't be any help in English. Oh, Mr. Burke, what's an adjective? I don't know. Genuinely, a child blamed a wrong answer on me once.
Yeah. I've had that as well. I've had someone ask me an adjective, and I was like, "Can you ask me adverb? Because that's the only one I know."
But they were about to lose a maths teacher. She was about to move on to a different position. And they had 2 PGCE students in for interviews, and they said to the head of maths, would we hire these PGCE students? And he said, I'd rather have James teaching a lesson, as like an offhand comment. And then I expressed interest, and I was like, I'd be more than happy to be a teacher if you'd want me to. And it sort of just spiraled from there.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's brilliant.
And every year I get promised that I will be able to teach some of the geology GCSE lessons.
Yeah.
And then every year a maths teacher leaves, so they need me to teach a full timetable of maths.
So you do geology GCSE in your school?
Yeah, we do. We have a geology lab upstairs with a load of samples. One of the senior leadership team actually teaches geology here. So a lot of people are really interested in it. It's quite a popular subject at our school because it's something a little bit different.
Yeah, I can see that.
And Rich is an amazing teacher. I wish to be that man one day. He's such a good teacher.
Oh, what a compliment.
It's so good, isn't it, though, when you watch someone teach and you just think, oh yeah, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm aspiring to.
Just him without the dad jokes would be the perfect career.
Oh no, you've got to throw some dad jokes.
Come on,
throw that in there.
No wrong with a few dad jokes. We all like those.
You gotta love them. Do you think if you do get to finally teach geology, will you be able to do some field trips and stuff, or have you already done that with your students?
Yeah, they do field trips for geology from our school. I haven't been available to go on one yet, which is really upsetting. I almost got to go on the residential one last year. But unfortunately, somebody got COVID, which was me, so I couldn't go. So I'd love to go and do those things because we have the best location for it. We can go take them down to beaches. A lot of the beaches that we could show them samples and different geological formations are 20 minutes drive from the school. So we take them out in a minibus and we can go show them those things.
Oh, that's perfect. No wonder it's worth doing the geology GCSE because you've actually got it there. All the geology is just around you.
Yeah, there's the difference to sitting in a classroom and showing them pictures and talking about it,
definitely.
to physically go and getting your hands on this stuff and seeing it in the real world. It makes so much more sense.
I would have loved that as a pupil.
It sounds really interesting, but I think a lot of our students take it for granted because we can see the sea from the front of the school. We are
Oh,
that
wow.
close. We're at the top of the hill. We can look down into the sea, and a lot of these children only know the Isle of Wight. They know about beaches. They're so used to it. A lot of the students that I teach, I tell them they need to move off of the island just for a little bit in like their early 20s, or when they turn 18, go to university, go get a job somewhere else, and experience life outside of the island, because it's very beachy and very slow pace of life here. It's like a mini Cornwall, is what some people say.
I know someone from the Isle of Wight. What are the chances you also know them?
I've made this. I've had this happen so many times. There is a high chance. I would say I don't. But there is a high chance, because when I was at university, we invited the people who lived in the flat next door round, and I kept saying the island, and they were laughing, and they were like, "Oh, it's just we have our flatmate comes from an island called the Isle of Wight, so she says it all the time." And I was like, "Oh, so do I." And she came over, and she was a few years older than me, but I was like, "Oh, you're so-and-so's older sister." And so we knew each other, like, in this really weird way.
It's your own time you're wasting. Ramblings from beyond the classroom with Marie and Jodie. There's not a lot they don't know about teaching.
Huge thank you for joining us, James. It has been absolutely fascinating, and I could honestly talk to you for like another hour.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So thank you so much. We like to end our episode with 2 stars and a wish, which is our little celebration of what we've talked about today. So Marie, do you want to pick your first star?
Oh, my star. You're putting me on the spot now.
I mean, we do it every week. It's not that on the spot.
I know, but I've not thought of this week's yet. But just give me a moment. I think probably my favourite message, my favourite story that you told was about the 6-year-old finding the really nice fossil in half an hour when you spent 5 years looking and never found one. I think that's probably my star moment.
I think my star is there's a couple of moments where you were talking about different types of fossils, and I was just nodding and smiling, and I felt like I was in a science lesson about 14 years old and just being like, I'm going to pretend I understand this. But it was really cool, kind of the energy coming off of you and how excited you were was just brilliant. So that's why it's my star.
Oh, I love talking about rocks.
Okay, so Jodie, what would your wish be?
I'm going to wish that James gets to teach his geology GCSE.
Oh, that's
because
nice.
I feel like you've earned it. So fingers crossed for next year.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Go on, James. What would your wish be?
I'd wish that more schools would go out and take people to beaches so they can go look for rocks. Just getting more people picking up rocks and having a look.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, the same thing. I wish just field trips in general would be increased. Because it makes such a difference. But do you know, technically you are not allowed to remove anything from a beach in Britain.
I was just about to ask this. I was going to say, James, before we go, I do have to know, am I allowed to take the fossils home, or am I supposed to leave them?
You are allowed to take the fossils home. If it is a loose impediment, you are allowed to pick it up and carry it away with you.
Right. So a loose impediment means it's not attached.
It's just not attached to anything. You can dig it out of the cliff or the floor.
I'm with
but
you.
If it's just rolling around on the beach, it's free for you to pick it up.
That
there you
sounds
go.
fair.
That's a helpful tip as you go fossil hunting.
Yeah, too right. And as I do go fossil hunting fairly often, I will remember that. Although I can't remember the terminology, but I remember if it's loose and floating about, I can have it. So that's enough.
I mean, if it's floating about too much, something's wrong there, Marie.
You're deep in the sea at that point.
Yeah, well, I have been known to get cut off by the tide while hunting for fossils, to be honest.
Oh,
but we'll talk about that another time, perhaps.
So once again, just massive thank you for joining us. It has been such a pleasure, and hopefully we'll have another chat sometime.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I love these kind of things. So it's been a pleasure and an honour to be part of your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, James.
You're a legend.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed it too.
This podcast is proudly produced by Beyond. Please bear in mind the views and opinions expressed are those of individuals and may not represent those of Beyond or Twinkle.